All right, I want to welcome everybody to the April 2nd work session. 5:03, if I get a motion
So
to,
moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye has it. Mr. Rizzo, you want to start off on Tsplost, and we'll move over to fire and EMA.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So we're working through the Tsplost project, working towards a referendum in November. And so the purpose of this time today is just to kind of talk through projects that the board might be interested in putting on that referendum. We'll take whatever thoughts we get from the board and go back and do a cost estimate so that we've got a good idea of exactly how much those cost. So that's sort of the next step in the process, just formulating that list.
Who would like to start?
You know, I know Wendy and I both talked about this with respect to the roads list and the Tsplost sort of being dedicated, obviously, to roads, county-owned bridges, and other infrastructure related to it. So we missed the dirt road opportunity, I think, and so I want to make sure that we either allocate a strong percentage, you know, towards that, and I like a number around 30%. So there's no question about our intent with regards to servicing those roads, because we know we've got road issues. The roads list itself, my lifetime, it probably won't get done unless we have Tsplost and some other items. But also, we have to be cognizant of the fact that we do have an industrial park, so the rail spur is on my list. And somebody had mentioned some bridges before. I can't remember the specific bridges, so rail spur, dirt roads, and those bridges.
I'm 100% on dirt roads. I mean, that's you know, we had dirt roads on the original regional Tsplost that didn't pass, and I think it needs to definitely be included. I made a comment earlier to Commissioner Kitchens. I was out on Moore Stevens Road yesterday, to be exact, and it's since the state's increased our weight limits on these roads. Moore Stevens Road was since Commissioner Kitchen and I both got elected, had paving done to it, but we're getting ready to do full depth reclamation because they just carried 300 loads of logs out of that road at 100,000 pounds each, and guess what? We have got a mess.
We're talking about addressing the bond, right?
Right. Well, it's the 100,000 pounds they're allowed to haul.
Yeah, but it still costs damage, so we need to figure that part out too, because the state did not account for that.
No.
So there's a bond. We ought to be able to tap that bond.
And I'll piggyback on what you're talking about. You know, state imposed the weight limits.
Right.
But we've got to make sure our roads are built properly. I know I'm going to go to Stallings Road in the north end of the county. It's heart of my district. You can flip a piece of asphalt over, and it's red up under. There's no gravel under the asphalt. So we've got to make sure the roads are built properly to carry the loads, whether it be a school bus, trash truck, fire truck, whatever it may be coming down the road, log truck. It's got to be built to carry the weight.
Right.
Are you talking about new roads, or are you going to core sample
Well,
the
like the
old?
dirt roads that you're 30% being paved, I want to make sure they're built properly so we're not going right back. 2 years the roads failed. No, that's
But-
not.
Yeah, but I still think even though the state increased it, the reality is we have to protect our roads, our citizens, and say, hey, you still tore up these roads and there's liability for it. Regardless of the state giving you the authority, our roads are not designed for that, so there's an impact for that.
Yeah, but we don't have any. That's the problem. They've got legal right to come across our roads with 100,000 with the new state laws. That's
All I'm saying, damage is damage, Chris. Like,
I know. I realize that. I've been on both sides of that coin.
I know you're a logger, so tell me it's damage.
Yeah.
So make it make sense.
Yeah. But
I know you don't want to fight your buddies, but how does it work?
I mean, it's I have a nightmare every time I see one of those trucks come by. After 20 years, but it's the state has not done us a favor. And like I said, that's this Tsplost is. We got to figure out some way to absorb these damages, and it don't look like the state's gonna help us.
Again, I don't process absorbed damages when there's a bond, and I think whether there's an ordinance to say, yes, the state does this, but if you knowingly go over our roads rated for 80,000 with 100,000, you're liable. I think that's fair. I'm gonna let you figure it out as a logging guy.
All right, but like I said, they're allowed 100, so.
Our roads are not rated for that, to his point.
Well, and you got many bridges in the county, has a sign up there, what can go over? What are they gonna do when they come, 100,000-pound truck comes to that bridge?
Yeah.
When you go around it, you're supposed to go around the bridge.
Supposed to. Wendy shaking her head like we're right.
All right,
I think that is something, probably bigger fish to fry than this meeting, but it's something we definitely need to look into that, you know, what is their bonding attorneys gonna fight if we go against the bond, if they say, you know, what he's saying, if we got a legal right to be on that road at that weight, and your roads are not, you know, accountable for it, or set up for it, we're gonna say that with every county I mean, every road in the county. And the argument has been to the state, you increased it by this amount, throwing this damage on us. Where are we gonna, what money are we gonna get to make up for that? Because I mean, I can see I don't think loggers are getting rich off of it. I don't think they're, because the price of wood is down compared to what it was in the past, and everything else is up. So, you know, part of me thinks going against the bonding company is gonna cause some kind of adverse effect of the logging altogether.
Ah, very good. So then if you know you're coming through Jones County and we hit your bond every single time, what's gonna happen?
Quit coming to Jones County.
I'm so sorry, until we figure that out with the state, because at that point, we already know we've got 600 roads we can't fix. How many more are gonna have more degradation to them?
so you're gonna have every timber landowner and everything after.
Tell them, call me,
Yep,
come by and see me.
there will too.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
And we'll lose out on the timber tax too.
No timber tax,
Oh, how much does a road cost, sir? A
Yeah.
dirt road is 1.5 million. What's the timber tax?
Yeah.
That's 1.5 million per mile
To build one.
to build one. What's the timber tax? Anybody got it?
Levita does. It's on our budget that she sends to us.
But just think about that for
Yeah.
a minute, because that's the cost, right? So you guys saying that the logging is worth it, I'm okay.
is, a generic, Mr. Rizzo, just, I thought, you think a generic, like they've had in the past, as far as project list, would be I don't wanna tie our hands completely, but I, you know, also wanna, you know, cover a lot of projects.
I think that's sort of a political question, I guess, or a, and I don't mean to just
I'm
punt on
just-
the whole thing.
Yeah.
In terms of what you can legally do and what other counties have done, there have been ones that have done, you know, just a very generic type project list. I think it's just a matter of, you know, y'all deciding if that's something you think the public can kind of latch onto and support without, you know, a specific list of projects that we intend to do. And
Sorry, I was gonna say, what's the anticipated amount typically?
I would say, so if you, total collections, and y'all can decide how aggressive or not aggressive you wanna be, somewhere in the $16.5 to $17 million neighborhood. And then we get 3/4 of that, which would be, if you use the 16.5 million, is 12,375,000 over the course of 5 years. And you could bond that if you were so inclined, and have some portion of it up front, so you could go ahead and start doing projects.
I think that's what Putnam County did. They did a, overview generic on theirs when it got passed, and, Craig was telling me that they took and, bonded and were in the process of doing a great deal of, resurfacing that they wouldn't have been able done, you know, any other way.
Jason, do we have an estimate of the cost for, and I'm of the opinion that we have to do what's been promised up till now, as far as existing roads and dirt roads. I mean, they may have gotten left off the list, but they hadn't got left off us talking about them and planning for them for the last, since I've been here. I mean, we've got we've got roads on the list that we're doing right-of-way checks, and we're getting the right-of-way and everything else, some that are to the point of almost needing funding. So, you know, I think if those have been, because I hear it all the time, this road or that road's, you know, we've been hearing it for 10 years and nothing's moved on it. Sometimes it's because people don't want to give up the land or the right-of-way for it, or whatever the reason is. You know, if it gets down to the reason being the funding part of it, do we have a list or an estimate of what that list would be, the dirt roads and the existing ones? Because I know we go down as far as we can with the LMIG. So considering the ones we've already allotted for LMIG, the additional LMIG we're getting, what that's going to, where can we start on number 5 and get to number 11? You know, I guess is the question I'm looking for. Because honestly, 12.3 sounds like a lot, but when you start talking about roads, it's not.
It goes
I
way
mean,
to high,
I don't know that we're gonna get past the roads that we've already promised people. And I know we also talked about, the parking lot at the complex. You know, that's a huge one that everybody in the county, well, a lot of people in the county use, you know.
And we can, Tim, I think is here. We've been putting together cost estimates on the 4 roads the 4 dirt roads that we're actively working on now. Chee Hall, Luke Smith, McKay, and Shady Road Plaza. And Tim, I don't know if you've gotten to good numbers on those,
That's right.
but yeah, we can identify a good number for all of those, and then if that's what y'all want us to look at, is kind of how far down that list of resurfacing projects we can get. We can certainly put that together.
Now on Luke Smith, is that the whole road or just that piece from Greenwood to Greenwood?
So what we're
Over
working
the
on right
pond.
now, what we're working on right now is what's kind of been in the pipeline for 20 years maybe or more, and it's that short section. So
I just want to be intentional. Again, 30% allocated towards dirt road, and we can identify the dirt roads, but the percentage is important so they don't get left out, because that's a big thing, and we don't get enough LMIG to really cover that. And if we should be so blessed where alcohol package sales comes along, then that's a backup to it. But I just want to be specific about that percentage, so it's not a question and it doesn't change.
I agree. Commissioner Wood, any?
A lot of good points. You know, when you think about the future schools that may be built in the county and those roads also, that, because you want to have, was it Chee Hall is one, it's somewhere in the list of planning.
Right.
But yes, just reiterate what I said about when we build a road, take a dirt road and take it to a paved road. It needs to be built properly so we don't have the fail issue.
I agree 100%.
And, you know, that's, pave it good and it'll last 20 years. And you repave it again, but we shouldn't have roads failing after 3-4 years. And
Do we have, I know we talked about having a road standard some time ago, but did we ever create that?
We're using the Pacer, right?
that was the
for paved
rating
roads.
system. You talking about a rating system or like a
No,
construction
Construction,
standard?
yeah.
So I mean, the last 2 or 3 years of LMIG, we've had Tim involved from an engineering standpoint to make sure that what we put down will stand the test of time and is good quality and that type of thing. So
does that follow a DOT standards? I'm thinking back to Stallings Road in my district. That road is, you know, you flip the asphalt over, there's no gravel under it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, pavers put
That-
gravel down, they compact it. It's so many layers of this, they would work it up. But
yeah, we won't do any more like that.
that's good. I just don't want to see good money thrown after bad, because, you know, you're
Yeah.
looking at full depth reclamation out there again.
That's the last road the county built too.
I know. But
I don't think the
I was
county
looking
did.
at the standard
Sure.
to get them built where we don't.
So consensus of the board's dirt roads and a generic
Existing-
paving project?
An existing paving projects, yeah, that were already.
Again, I'm gonna throw the rail spur out there. I know the industrial authority would love to see that as a component, and that may be a value add
Do we have estimates on the rail spur? I know Tim has talked about it in the past, but do we know if that's?
We may have to update those. Tim,
I imagine the rail spur's gonna run you minimum of 2, probably closer to 3 million.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to, because we do need industrial growth in the industrial park, because that would pay for a lot of things such as XYZ to our tax base.
And even if we don't fund it per se, it's allocated, it's an option for us, right? We can still prioritize roads, which is what I would do, but if we get a prospect that says, hey, we're coming,
Then you
And we
could.
need it.
Then we
that
can trigger
option's
it.
there.
Right.
And also, if we estimate 12.3 million and the revenues come in, economy's booming, we get 15.3, there's our 3 million
Right.
to do it.
Yep.
And we put it on the list.
I like that, put that rail spur as an, option in that. We confused you yet, Jason?
no, I think I'm good.
Do we have a timeline for starting, like, educational meetings, town hall?
We do have the timeline that we
meetings.
put together. I think it actually called for doing the intergovernmental agreements sometime in April, which there was buffer built in. So I think we're good in terms of time. We can take what y'all have given us today and any other thoughts y'all might have and put good estimates with those and bring them back at the next meeting, I think, and you can tweak it as needed and then we'll be good to go.
All right. Anything else on Tsplost? We'll move on then. Fire and EMA director discussion. So we had a work session here a few weeks ago about this very thing, and I personally like the ideas that the volunteers brought to us, the savings and the ability for additional staffing with that. I think it's a win-win, but there's also there's a discussion if it don't work, and if it don't work, we can go to a full-time. But right now, I think the idea they have is a good idea, and plus the cost savings. What I like about it, we got seasoned veterans out there gonna be staffing instead of, I think, the other route. So we'll be able to get more bang for our buck. We'll be able to get more personnel to cover these, to give us a wider option when we need it. Anybody else want to piggyback off that?
I agree with that, Chairman. I thought, I was the first one to question it until I saw the details in the plan, and the more I looked at the details in the plan, it covers a lot of things that we're currently not being able to provide, and that is, one is, definition of duty, right? You know, how, with the 3 command staff, you can divide up, whether it's training, whether it's inspections, voluntary inspections, however you wanna, do it, recruitment, recruitment of new volunteers, but it also gives us the ability to have people that, we're struggling getting volunteers. I mean, that's not a jab at anybody or anything. That is a nationwide problem. That is not a Jones County problem. But it's just a fact of these times. It's harder and harder to get people, and we've said it. You know, in the past, people grew up being a volunteer fire department, and that's just what you did. Your family done it, and their family done it, and just always done it. And you know, those folks are slowly. Kids nowadays are getting different jobs, doing different things, and you just don't see the buy-in that we had from that in years past. So I think having the part-time pay will attract the quality that we need from other paid firemen that are able to do it on their days off. So it's not just volunteer firemen that are having to work a full-time job from not getting paid and are able to respond when they're not at work or either, you know, on vacation of their own. I've talked to a lot of firemen that have said they have given up vacation time in the past for an unpaid job. That's hard for me to believe, because I don't know that I would do that. It goes to show that they care about what they're doing, why they're doing it, not the paycheck. So I think the fact that we could actually get them some relief, the ones that are there every time the phone rings, the ones that are having to go are the same ones that are taking time away from their families and their vacations when they're off from their full-time day job. They're being able, I think this will provide that ability to have quality firemen in that time. So, I mean, I like it. I know it's worked in other counties, but, I mean, I'm good with it.
Mr. Wood, you wanna?
You know, we're having kind of two different things discussed here as far as part-time firemen coming on duty to handle calls, whether it may be medical, EMA, or fire calls. But going back to the part-time versus full-time chief, I know you mentioned about having a part-time chief. It's the volume of business that's handled out of that office is more of it's a full-time thing, in my opinion. There's some things that can't wait till that person comes, you know, whoever is selected is back in the office. And I really think we'll be going backwards, because right now ISO is important for insurance rates, training, recruitment. And I fully realize that the volunteerism is down across America. I'm gonna reach over to Putnam County for a minute. I think they have less than 10 volunteers left in the entire county. Other than that, it's full-time. Whether they're working 24-hour shifts or 12s or whoever's selected. So it is essentially 5-10 years, we may not have any volunteers left in Jones County, and we'll have, whether it be 12 or 24-hour shifts or whatever's chosen is what they'll be working. But I believe at this time, with the call load, the workload, ISO, the planning of future stations, if any, it's going to be a full-time commitment for someone. And I don't know if a part-time position will handle, especially from the EMA, the certified emergency manager requirement on the education background that's, you know, in that, for that position. I just don't know if part-time is the way or the best route to go with this. Full-time is, you know, as we've previously discussed, full-time is where I think it needs to be, such as the current director is now full-time.
Commissioner Vaughn, you wanna?
I've talked to a lot of the guys that I've worked with for years, in Jones County Rescue, and, actually talked for a while with Thomas the other day, and he answered a lot of the questions that I had questions about. And I know that our need right now is somebody to get in there and get trained quickly to take over Don's position. I also understand the need of our growth and what our department needs. I love the idea of manning with the part-timers on fire rescue in the stations, to start building up on that. And after talking with Thomas for a while, I do understand that, yes, and I've said it from the beginning, I know that Thomas would not take a position here full-time over what he's making where he's at. Could it be a Band-Aid until we can get to that next spot? Yes. Could it be all that we really need and save us a lot of money? Yes. And I'm willing to do that for short term. I mean that, because I think that we can get every bit of the coverage that we need, and I know the guys that have his back, and those that are on the department with him will be there for him. And you know, Don is my first call when I hear sirens, because even after 28 years, when I hear a siren, for those of y'all that know, that adrenaline starts pumping, and it's a rush like you've never had in your life. and I need to know what's going on, so I just, you know, that's my connection with Dawn that I'll lose is that. But I know I got many more out there that I can make that same phone call to. So, I know I was one that was fighting it the hardest the other day, but after some time to sit and think and read through some things, it does make sense for right now for us to go with that possibility of that part-time with part-time's backing him up because of the fact that we're gonna cover so many other areas that we need not just that full-time person there. We need that person that's gonna make sure that all the training is done and checked off on. Those ISO ratings can start coming down some more. So that's, on paper, it looks good.
Mr. Martin?
Like Wendy, I had a lot of challenge with it. And when I have a challenge, normally Sam's on the other side, so we get a chance to exercise our wit and our brain a good bit. And I appreciate that. You know, they say the greatest sign of intelligence is asking a question. And I like to ask questions. I want to understand the why and the how. And I met with a bunch of the guys, and they answered the whys and the hows to make it, to Wendy's point, palatable and possible. And I don't even like to use the word palatable. I feel confident in it. I was like, okay, great. Here's a solution. I had the unfortunate pleasure of being in a fire in Jones County, and the volunteers showed up. And I know our system works and it can work better. So I'm looking forward to that. In fact, I need it to work, right? Because my insurance depends on it. My constituents depend on it. The county depends on it. And the people and the prospects who could move here depend on that. I even called my dad, and he kind of chuckled. He says, yeah, we've had a volunteer fire department here in Connecticut. I'm like, are you kidding me? As high as taxes are? He says, but it works. The idea that the department came together to provide a solution is heartwarming. I'll use that word, right? Heartwarming. Because that shows the level of confidence, the level of support and faith that they have in each other, not just who they chose as their leader. And that's important too. Whether you're a team player or not, you got to recognize when the group says, hey, we're going to follow you and we believe in you, that means a lot. And that is huge. That's relationship. And I like to think of Jones County as a big family, so that relationship and the fire family said, we're going to stand by our guy, and here's a solution, and they came up with a plan. So I'm going to say, let's go, and let's give it a shot. And if that's realistic and it works, great. If it doesn't work, to Wendy's point, we have an opportunity to drop back and punt and fix it or make it better, because I don't think it's going to be any worse. So I did have a couple more questions, and I'll let you guys work that out as I see the full plan, because I know Jason had it and y'all shared it, but I'm a little tactile and visual learner, so I kind of want to see it too. For those that don't know, we talked about having a full-time fire chief as well as a full-time deputy, and so that was the other key component for me, that even when he's not here, he still has his command staff, but there's also a person here. And I think that's the right thing to do for support. And the other component, I know we authorized Don to do this some time ago, but in the dispatch, that position, I forget the name of it, where they can triage calls better than just regular send a fireman.
Emergency medical dispatchers.
Thank you, that one, EMD.
Thank you.
I was one of those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I know we authorized Don to do that some time ago. That should be a part of the plan too, because that will ensure that we're not just sending firemen over to spaces where they don't need to be, but they can send the right personnel for that, so then the department can stay on the ready for all the other things, while we build up the core volunteers and so on. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the potential, and I hope it works as good as it sounds. So appreciate you guys.
And to comment back on that, the position that, the deputy, I think that that's a very important, that to be a full-time position. Because you gotta have somebody in that office that is going to be, that holds the glue together, that piece of glue that holds it all together.
You're talking about EMA director and fire chief position, or which person full-time in the office?
What Karen is doing.
No, wait. Let's clarify that. God bless you. There's the administrative role that Karen was doing, and then there's an actual deputy, the title that we need the position
Right.
to be filled.
Need some clarification on that.
Yeah,
because
I knew you were going with that.
Any citizen input tonight? Any citizens wanna give any input tonight?
We appreciate y'all considering the plan. I feel like we can really make it work. It'll enable us to do a whole lot more. We can hire really seasoned people.
Hey, people at home can't hear you. You start back over.
We can hire really seasoned people by hiring them part-time instead of having to hire fresh people and train them. And the money that we save by doing part-time, we can fully staff them. I mean, it's just, to me, it's a win-win for everybody. We're gonna be able to put a full-time department in place with part-time, with no benefits. The savings will just increase our coverage. Like you say, the Karen spot is gonna have to be a full-time spot. Cause that's, without the people that run the day-to-day work, the rest of it won't happen. But, yeah, I wanna
But
thank
I
all
want,
y'all.
I want that to be a little bit more than just an administrative position there.
I think they was talking about dividing
It's two.
the responsibilities there.
Yeah. One is admin, the other one is actually the deputy.
Right.
So we're
Because,
gonna-
I mean, it's just important to have that there. And I think that deputy position needs to be somebody that's young and gung-ho, that's willing to work its way up the ropes to step into that position and.
What you mean by young? The average age of the fire department.
Yeah.
Here's our HR person.
Switch hats.
But if y'all got any other questions?
No, I'm gonna brag because Commissioner Kitchens, Commissioner Martin, anybody's been to any of these conferences we go to, and I know they've heard the same praises that I've heard about our volunteers in this county. And it goes from every aspect of this county, whether it be animal services or volunteers in this county that put their life on the line to take them away from their families, and they say, how you do it? And this is just proof that this county can do it, and people watch. They watch us, and this is a perfect example why they watch us, because people like y'all are coming together and bringing these great ideas with us, which I think is, I'm excited. I really am.
And I'm gonna piggyback on that. A couple of years ago, most of you out here will remember it, there was a bus accident on Highway 49, and when it came over a bus accident, of course, I got that call and took off that way too, thinking, I don't have any buses. But I knew it was a bus, so I needed to get there, and y'all were on the scene, and.
I was the first one on that.
Yes, and we ended up taking the kids, the parents, and we brought them back to our office, and we took the coach to, y'all took the coach onto the hospital and everything after got him cut out of there. Do you know that I still get cards from a lot of those parents from Athens Christian Academy, commending Jones County for the way that they opened up their hearts that day and took care of those kids and that coach. I mean, I made sure that the coach's family, I went and seen him in the hospital a few times. He has since passed away. But he, those families still make contact, and it's been almost 3 years now,
That's great.
so
We
we
thank-
are good.
We thank you all, every one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Any commissioner comments on the work session tonight? No, well, I entertain a motion to adjourn the work session.
I make a motion and adjourn the work session.
We get a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
We can put that on the next agenda. We'll go ahead and make